is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another review. And this is the Suicide Squad, and this time it's James Gunn directing it. Oh yes, oh yes. And you know what? The trailers were awesome. I reacted to basically most of them and loved it. Loved him as the director. You can tell it was his thing that he was doing. And the Suicide Squad, I felt like it needed that. The first one, I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of. It just felt like stuff was happening, which is kind of the same thing here, but there's more to it. And he just finds a way to make it work. So all in all, I'm going to say it right away. This was actually a pretty good movie. Is it perfect? No, but it's right up there. I think it's one of the best DCEU movies if it's considered as the extended universe. It did a smart way of like making it a sequel, but it's also not a sequel, and we'll get to that. But hey, this was an awesome time at the movies. I haven't been to the theaters in a long time. I think the last time was like the New Mutants, and that's it. And it's been a while. It's more than a year now. So this was a good time. I'm happy that I went back for this. So the first thing that I think this movie does right is actually the idea behind the Suicide Squad. It is that there is no like heroes or anything like that. They're the Suicide Squad, and I think that's why they kind of named it like that instead of calling it Suicide Squad, which one the first one was. This is the Suicide Squad. And then you kind of think when you read that, I'm like, why did they go that? They could have just called it Suicide Squad 2 or something like that. But like when you actually watch the movie, you understand there are no backstories to the character, minus a couple, and they touch on things. But the idea is that what these characters are not technically good people. They've done bad things. They've been used to do stuff for the government, right? They're going in expecting not to survive, and that opening, there's like a 20-minute opening, it relays that message. And it also does a smart way of bringing in some of the characters from the first one, so cementing that this one is a sequel, and then something happens and it's kind of like okay, it's a reboot now, and this is like your new Suicide Squad. So that was a smart way of doing it. Now, do some characters are there for the sake of just the jokes and stuff? Yes, yes. And I do think some of the characters could have been better. At least one, I think the ending that person got maybe should have been different, because I actually ended up enjoying this character way more than I thought. The way he actually has this issue with his mother, and for him to really get angry, he has to see his mom everywhere, and it was pretty neat. It had some laughs to that, and I think the way everything ended with him, it could have been better. But overall, though, it really showed what the Suicide Squad is. This mission itself, it felt okay. This is a Suicide Squad. They're in a suicide mission, and they're really like just following orders. And the secret that they find in the end, it all makes sense. Now, the one thing there, though, I do wish there was a one singular kind of a bad guy. There's this one bigger bad guy per se, but one thing, there's several guys that they go through, and I mean they're there to do the thing, but it's not like one singular bad guy. And they do the cliche thing of like, oh, the US was behind all of this after all, kind of a thing. But it's not spoiler, nothing like that. But I do wish they went ahead and maybe like made this one singular person that was the bad guy that they're going after. But it still works in a way that, as I said, that the characters and the way they are, it makes sense for the mission they're on. Is that like, okay, bad guys, really, this one bad guy maybe wasn't the best idea. Like, their characters, they don't know where they are. They just got to do the job that they're given, and whatever people they go through, they go through. So it kind of makes also sense in that way. Maybe we're so used to like having the one bad guy in a movie, in a superhero movie, that you're kind of used to it. But I also understand why they went the other route. The comedy clicks. There's actually not a lot of comedy, or maybe I just didn't laugh enough. But the comedy that's there, and when you're supposed to laugh, then you're really supposed to laugh. I guess I should say, you laugh, and it works. It works when it needs to be, and when it's not needed, it's needed in more like a dark kind of way, which this movie is. It's a lot of darkness in there, in the way that there's a lot of dark humor and lives are lost in a very bloody way, extremely bloody way. It's extremely R-rated, but it's done in the right way. You know, there's thing where it's like, oh, it's bloody for the sake of being bloody, and oh, look at all this gore, but it's done very smart, and that's where all of these things, when they come together, you can tell James Gunn's directing, and it all comes down to him. It's basically a Guardian of the Galaxy situation, but in a more DC way and in a more R-rated way, and it works. I think going the R-rated way and bringing James Gunn, it worked for this squad. Oh, pun intended. The Suicide Squad. It just worked. You can tell this is what these characters needed. And at the end of the day, it's not just a dark movie, which one the first one was, but it did the characters, and without actually really having backstories, like these big backstories, but did the characters justice without actually not having a film for each of the character, right? Minus Harley, because she has the first Suicide Squad, and then she got her own film. But it did a smart thing with everything, and the way the adventure worked, the way the gore worked, the way the characters work, and the way they dealt with the previous movie, the first Suicide Squad, and then, kind of going into the second one. That was very smart and very well done. Some characters could have been better, for sure, and one character needed a better ending, definitely. But overall, I give this one a 9 out of 10. This was an extremely good movie, and this was a really good movie to go back to theaters to, and I was happy with the money I spent. So what did you all think about this? Leave a comment below. Let me know. And other than that, I want to say thank you for watching. Thanks for all the support. If you like these kind of reviews, there are a whole lot others on the channel. Please go have a watch. And yeah, other than that, take it easy. Take care, and I will catch you all soon. Until then, ta-ta. AK out.